Good afternoon, Joe Arnold, Cincinnati Fire Training Bureau with FAO Fidel Aikman. We're going to go over the operations of the brand new Rosenbauer pumpers. So everybody walk over this way real quick. The only two brand new Rosenbauers we have are the 19s and the 24s. There are a lot of others out there that are gliders. They're basically remounts like the 17s, the 35s, the 23s, the 3s. Those are all remounts. So they've taken the actual pumps and put them onto new chassis. For this one, your on-off switch is down on the bottom. It simply just has the one ignition position switch. It's not a multi-switch. So ignition's up, engine starts right next to it. Start the engine up. Your pump shift is right here on the left. Always a good idea to pause halfway in between. Allow that impeller to slow down. Then you drop it in the pump. Once you shift it into drive, you'll hear it kick over. Always a good practice to step on a gas pedal before you get out. If you've got a dead pedal, you know you're in pump. Without even looking at the lights, I know I'm in pump. Some of the older gliders, you actually step on it, you'll see your MPH go up. As long as you don't have it lunging forward, or as long as you don't have the engine revving up with no MPH, you know you're good and you're in pump. Retrip remounts. So right now we're not hooked up to a hydrant. Our number one priority is getting water on the fire. 500 gallons goes a long, long way. Open up your tank to pump. Depending upon whether or not your pump has water in it or not, you may have to prime it. Two options on priming. This one has a push to prime, has air that forces the water out the bottom. The other way is, where does air want to go? Air wants to go up. So if you just crack your deck gun, now all that air goes straight up the top. So we have water in our tank. Everything we do CFD-wise start at a minimum of 150 pounds. We've got 5 sections, 1 3/4 with a chief nozzle. Your number one priority, getting water on the fire. The last 50 feet of that bed is your responsibility. So make sure before you start the water, that bed is cleared. We talked a lot about revving it all the way up, popping out the kinks. Even something as small as that, if we don't rev it up first, we're going to still have kinks. We saw in quick water, was it popping it, rev it up, allow those kinks to get out, and that way you get plenty of water on the fire. This preset is set to 130. I don't like 130, I want 150. The easiest way to do it is hold down your increase button. Get my target pressure. Allow the engine to catch up. Verify that you have the right line. Rear cross lay, rear cross lay. Jiggle it, pop it. Now with my 500 gallons of water, how long do I have to hook up to my hydrant? 2.5. 2.5 minutes, right? I don't have to go crazy. Always try to walk this out straight so you don't have the big loops. Then come back to the hydrant. Now I'm done. 500 gallons of water goes a long way. You've got plenty of time to get water. Make sure they got their line working first. Far too many drivers are worried about the hydrant instead of worried about them getting water on the fire. 90% of our fires are put out with the water in the tank. And those that aren't are usually parking lots anyway, so you got plenty of time to do it. I still have about half a tank left, and I've been sitting here twiddling my thumbs for 30 seconds. With this pumper, when you run out of water, you hear it rev up briefly, and then kick all the way back down to idle. You're not going to get any warning lights, you're not going to get any warning buzzers. You're going to hear it rev up a little bit, then go all the way back down. And we wait. Smoke break. Quarter tank. When it drops below a quarter tank, you'll see the Christmas tree. No visual warning. Can't hear anything. But listen for that sound when you're running out of water. Again, you've got a long time to get the hydrant hooked up. Make sure they get water on the fire. That's your #1 priority. We're waiting. We're waiting. Goes up. Now I'm completely out of water. Mike, can you turn the hydrant on? 46. You also notice when this thing kicks down into idle, it kicked me out of PSI, put me back into RPM. With these Rosenbauers, it's got an electronic valve for the front suction. It actually has 2 presets on it. The first preset is 0. The second preset is 100. So when I'm ready to start my front suction, hit the yellow button twice so the P2 is highlighted, then hit the orange go-to button. Now I can walk away. 18 sections that will be 100% open up, and we have plenty of water coming into the apparatus. Now what's the first thing we want to do after we've hooked up to our hydrant and we have water coming to the pumper? Fill the tank, right? That 2.5 minutes they were using water, if someone runs over our front suction, we lose our supply line. It'd be nice for them to have that 2.5 minutes to get out of the building. So make sure you fill up your tank as soon as possible. But be careful. We talk about a compound gauge. Do not let this drop below 30 pounds. Because even though I'm just doing my tank fill, bigger pipe, I can actually rob all the water that they're getting just by filling up my tank. So you've got to be cautious. Make sure they still have their water, but get that tank filled up as soon as possible. So there's also been discussion about what do we do with our tank to pump. There's two schools of thought. You can leave your tank to pump closed so we're not having air circulating back between the open tank fill and the open tank to pump. Or if you leave it open and say for some reason somebody runs over our 5-inch. Now we've just bought 2.5 minutes for those eyes to get out. So if I lose my hydrant, you should hear my engine kick up, take over on tank to pump, and still give them their 200 gallons a minute to get out of the building if necessary. Obviously communicate over the radio, hey, I've lost my supply line, but they might not even know it. That's the benefit of leaving a tank to pump open. But again, some guys don't like to have that, especially when they're filling up. The other thing to remember too, if we're trying to do 2 different discharges at different pressures. Say I want 100 pounds on this discharge. I lock it into place, but I want to get 125 pounds on my other discharge. When they're flowing water, I'm good, I'm locked in. But watch what happens to the gauge when they shut their line down. Don't make the mistake of coming back over and say, oh my God, I thought I had 100. I gotta back it down, I gotta back it down. Because what you've invariably done is just robbed all the water. Remember that when you lock it into position, and they stop flowing water, you're going to equalize at whatever the maximum pressure is. So don't freak out if all of a sudden you see your gauge go from your preset number to a higher number. It just means they're not flowing water. It's also recommended that about once a week, I used to do it every Sunday that I worked, grease up your valves. When you open up, you can actually see where each one of these handles leads to. So when you're pulling them out, make sure you grease up here, find where it goes to, hit some WD on that ball valve too. Plus, it kind of helps you realize what's going on inside the pumper too. This big old thing, well, wait a minute, it's going up. Oh yeah, if I look at this, that's my deck gun. It helps you kind of realize what's going on inside. Garage recommends every valve operate at least once a week. Sundays is usually a good day. Pull it out, tilt the cab, get your new kid out there, say, hey, we're going to grease everything up.
We're having somebody jump up in the cab and basically do the same thing as quick drills. Things that we're focusing on that we saw down there, which I'm sure we talked about, was clearing the bed. A lot of guys weren't clearing the bed, and the fact that they were worried about their supply instead of worrying about getting that line off and getting it started. So make sure you clear the bed. After that, you have time, establish your supply coming in, and that's it basically. I mean, there's nothing else. Am I missing something?
2.5 minutes is a ton of time for you to get your hydrant hooked up. Priority 1, get water on the fire. Again, last 50 feet should be your responsibility. Clear that bed. Take it from the pumper to the front door. Make sure you have no kinks. You know, see where that line's going. Make sure you get water on the fire. Now you've got plenty of time. 2.5 minutes is a ton of time to get that hydrant hooked up.